If strategy is the GPS, your spirit is the satellite. And this episode teaches how to tune in and move in alignment. Let's get into it. Yeah. Welcome back, beautiful. This is She's Beyond Elevated, the podcast where we blend the boldness of strategy with the softness of soul. And today's episode is really sacred, right? It's called Hearing and Trusting Divine Guidance. Because if strategy is the GPS, then your spirit is your satellite. And baby, when they sync up, when you're in sync across those two, you really stop hustling and you start aligning. Strategy matters. Systems matter. But without spiritual clarity, you're just checking off boxes really with no direction. Most of us were taught to figure it out on paper, right? But we were really never taught how to listen in the prayer. We weren't taught how to pause, and we definitely were not taught discernment. So we were taught we have to figure it out, get things done, but we really, and most of us, if not all of us, most of us were taught how to pray, but we were never taught how to just sit and be still and wait for direction from the prayer. We were taught how to ask for things through prayer, but never how to interpret how it comes back to us and to wait until we get the guidance instead of moving. We're also used to wanting to just take the lead and make it happen, right? Which I was taught, and like most of us were taught, that if you are worried, then you pray. And if you are going to pray, then you can't worry, right? So we were taught that, but we were never taught just to sit still, just to be still and wait until those prayers are answered. Now, what that usually entails is it leads smart women into making spiritually disconnected moves and then wondering why they still feel so lost after they've made a move. They prayed for an answer. They moved before the answer came. And then when the outcome is less than ideal, then they wonder why, what happened? Why do I feel so lost around this decision? Being like 100% real, what usually happens when the outcome is less than ideal, then it chips away at your faith tree, right? So you sit and you say, okay, well, maybe some people say, well, maybe that wasn't meant to be. But deep down inside, usually it makes us question our faith, or it gets so hard for us to rally behind just having faith. Even the size of a mustard seed, it becomes hard to have and walk in that faith because what we wanted to happen didn't happen because we moved before we got guidance from the divine, whether you call it universe, God, whatever. But before God speaks to you, you move. And then when it doesn't come out the way that you wanted it to or anticipated it coming out, then your faith is taken down just a notch. So you might just be out of alignment if you're exhausted, even though you're doing all the right things. So textbook wise, you're doing everything that you should be doing, but there's no fulfillment in it. There's no boost. There's no charge in it. You're exhausted from doing it. You might be out of alignment when you keep forcing opportunities that don't feel right. And women especially were gifted with this small little thing called intuition, right? And that intuition is really your superpower. And a lot of us don't sit in a place of allowing that to be our superpower. If you think about it, if you think back to a decision that you made that turned out completely wrong, like completely, everything about it was wrong. I want you to be real honest with yourself and think about before you made that decision, whether or not you had that little burn, that little itch here, that little bubble up in the bottom of your stomach where you're like, maybe I shouldn't. And then you did, and it turned out horribly wrong. Right? So you might just be out of alignment when you're making money, but you're losing peace. So the more money that you make, a couple things happen. The more money that you make, it looks like the more you spend. So you're still back, even though your income has doubled, you're still back to living paycheck to paycheck or barely above broke, right? Or you are making the money, you have the money, but you're miserable. Like you deep down inside, you're miserable. And everyone else looks at your situation, your job, your title, all of the things and says, I don't know why you upset. I wouldn't complain if I had, and you're still miserable, right? That's probably misalignment. And then if you're obsessed, and when I say obsessed, I mean you can't do anything without control or being able to control the situation or an external validation or someone saying to you, you did a good job, or that's perfect, or no one could have done it better. If you are obsessed with those things, control, having to control every little aspect of it, or needing someone to validate that you did a good job or validate that you made the right decision, you're probably out of alignment. And lastly, if you keep praying, right, but never pause long enough to hear the answer. So you pray about it on Monday evening, and on Monday before you go to bed, you've made a decision, you're done with it, and this is how you're going to press forward. But you just prayed about it 20 minutes ago. And I'm not saying, God can show up at any time. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is waiting to actually get the answer to what the question that you asked, you never do. You're probably out of misalignment. You're in misalignment, right? Sis, God is not ignoring you. And this is something I'm taking to in my own spirit. Your spirit is not silent, but the volume of the world might just be a little louder than the whisper that comes within. I'm going to say that again because I want you to hear this. The volume of the world might be louder than the whisper within. I want to leave you with 3 ways that you can actually identify or hear the divine guidance more clearly. Number 1, create space for stillness. So guidance rarely shows up in chaos. The spirit rarely speaks to you when everything is moving around you. Start with just 5 minutes of silence a day. Okay? No phone, no podcast, not even She's Beyond Elevated. Just presence. You're tapped in and you're waiting to hear from the universe, God, whomever. You're waiting to hear. Start with 5 minutes. See if you can work your way up to an entire hour. Take some time, but do that. And see if you are not able to get more guidance or to be able to just be quiet enough to hear, because it's there. You just can't hear the whispers, right? Number 2, ask specific questions. Okay? Don't just pray for clarity. Okay? Ask the question like, is this aligned with my assignment? Is this helping me to operate in my mantle and build my kingdom? Is this what I have been called and assigned to do? Ask very specific questions, because clarity can be clarity about anything. You can get clear about which coffee you need to switch to. You can get clear about a new skin clear product or something like that. Ask specific questions about your divine mission, right? Number 3, pay attention to resistance and peace. So what feels right, what feels expansive, what feels grounded, and you don't second guess it, is probably aligned with you. It's aligned with your mission. Because normally what feels tight, what feels forced, what you feel anxious about in your spirit is usually your inner compass talking. And what feels restrictive or what feels forced is you turning away from the path that you're supposed to take. Sometimes divine guidance will ask you to quit your job, close the door, or walk away from what looks safe. Now, that part's scary. It's scary. But hear this. God will never call for you to shrink. He's only calling, and he's going to call for you to stretch beyond where you currently are. God gets no glory in you being smaller than you were before. He gets no glory from that, right? And by the same token, God isn't in the business of wanting you to do or to be worse off than you already are. Most times when you lose something, it is because God is moving that thing away from you, out of your way, out of his way, so that he can expand you. And he knows, right, that in expansion, some things have to be replaced. So you never lose, right? Even if you don't understand the reason why, know that it's part of the divine mission and go with it. You won't always understand in the moment. Most times you don't, but your spirit knows, right? And when you follow that knowing, provision meets obedience, always. So when you go with it, you don't know why, and you can have a conversation. I don't know what this is preparing me for, but I'm grateful for the preparation. Always an attitude of gratitude. So here's your power prompt. Where in my life have I been leading with fear instead of faith? Say this with me. I trust myself. I trust God. I trust the timing. I release control and move in divine alignment. And if this episode resonated, download the Beyond Brilliance Blueprint for Elevated Women at shesbeyondelevated.com/brilliant to deepen your spiritual reflection. This is not just another useless guide that you'll never use. This is a 28-page strategic roadmap that will guide you to position your purpose, to monetize your genius, and to elevate your legacy, all while giving practical directions to get from point A to point B in half the time. And if you're ready to align your elevation with your divine assignment, let's talk. Apply to attend my 5-day Wealth Beyond Work Challenge at weelevateher.com/5-day challenge. So until next time, you weren't born to blend in. You were born to break ceilings, break out of boxes, and break generational curses. Stay bold, stay brilliant, stay beyond elevated. Until next time. Well, beautiful, thank you for tuning in to She's Beyond Elevated with Dr. Kimberly Dunlap. If this episode spoke to your soul, share it with another woman ready to rise. Remember, elevation isn't a destination, it's a decision. Keep shining, keep walking in purpose, and I'll see you in the next episode.